It sounds like the Tennessee Titans love Jeremiyah Love with their first-round pick. I'll tell you why that makes sense and update you on all the latest intel coming out of the Combine on today's edition of Locked On Titans.
You are Locked On Titans, your daily Tennessee Titans podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome to the Locked On Titans podcast. I am your host, Tyler Rowland. Titans fans, today's edition of the Locked On Titans podcast is brought to you by FanDuel. FanDuel is giving you a way to turn that energy into even bigger potential wins with a college basketball parlay profit boost. Head to FanDuel.com to get started. On today's show, I'm going to talk about a report saying that the Titans are prioritizing Chig Okonkwo and Kevin Zeitler before free agency starts and why I don't agree with it. We're also going to talk about all the latest with actual free agents, Wan'Dale Robinson, John Franklin Myers coming to the Titans. Sounds like it could be happening, but we're going to start with all of the buzz and all of the conversation around Jeremiyah Love at number 4 for the Tennessee Titans. Before we dive in, do want to thank you for making Locked On Titans your first listen each and every day. Remember, Monday through Friday, Tennessee Titans content all year round, always for free. Make sure that you get subscribed, stay subscribed. It's your team every day here on the Locked On Titans podcast. Speaking of every day, shout out to my everydayers out there tuning in Monday through Friday. Couldn't do it without you guys. If you aren't an everydayer, what are you doing? The next week, we're going to get so many different rumors, reports, free agency starts in a week. I'm going to have my free agency preview all week long, going over every single position. The draft is right around the corner as well. Make sure that you stay locked in with the number one Tennessee Titans podcast in the world, Locked On Titans. But with that being said, again, the noise around Jeremiyah Love and the Tennessee Titans hit a fever pitch this weekend. And quite honestly, if you look at the lay of the land, it does make a ton of sense that the Titans would take Jeremiyah Love at number 4. And it's something, quite honestly, that I would be fine with. I would be happy to have Jeremiyah Love on the Tennessee Titans. Now, this all kind of started to blow up because Matthew Berry, the excellent fantasy analyst that was with ESPN, is back with NBC, Roto World now, but he went out and recorded a video saying that he has heard around Indianapolis that the Tennessee Titans have Jeremiyah Love as the top player on their board, that they love Jeremiyah Love, to use the phrase again, and it did raise a ton of eyebrows. I mean, Matthew Berry wasn't saying that he was reporting this news like he's Adam Schefter or something, but he said he has heard it quite a bit around the NFL Combine that the Titans love Jeremiyah Love, and at the end of the day, it does make a ton of sense, and I know that some of you out there are like, you can't take a running back in the top 5 no matter what, doesn't matter. And I think that that's a little too black and white for me. I think that there are certain things that typically I would not want to take a running back that high in the draft. And we'll talk about why that's the case. But I don't think that this is a normal year either. And one thing to consider here is Jeremiyah Love would come in and probably be a top 5 running back in the entire NFL right away. Like right away, he's a top 5 running back. And there is something to be said for take good football players. I have been on record, and I'm going to keep telling you guys, this is not a great top of the first round draft, okay? The typical high-end talent that's available at the top of an NFL draft is not present in this draft. Everybody has question marks. Arvell Reese, what position is he going to play? Reuben Baines, short arms. David Bailey, not good against the run. Doesn't have bend and dip and ankle flexion. Carnell Tate, is he just a deep ball merchant? He was never a true number 1. Jordan Tyson, you got the injury issues. Mekhi Lemon, he's not very big. Is he big enough to be your number 1 wide receiver? Do you take a slot receiver like that high? Whether you agree or disagree with those questions, all of these players have questions. They're all tweeners. You know, Sonny Styles was a safety and then a linebacker. Is he really going to be able to be a guy in the middle of the defense? Do you take linebacker that high? Like, there's questions about everybody. Even Fernando Mendoza is not as good of a quarterback prospect, in my opinion, as Caleb Williams, Drake May, Jaden Daniels. You know, so this just isn't a super talented top end of the first round. Now, the draft itself, there's good depth in the draft, but when you have the lack of blue chip talents at the top of the draft like you do this year, Why not just take the best football player? And Jeremiyah Love might be the best football player in the entire draft. And again, might be a top 5 running back immediately as soon as you draft him. And outside of that, he's exciting. We have talked about, I want the Titans to win more games. The Titans better win more than 3 games this year. But wouldn't it be nice to just have more exciting football players that you like watching on Sunday? That it's fun to see Jeremiyah Love rip off a 60-yard touchdown? Like, isn't that something that should matter to us? Is how fun it is to watch our football team. And Jeremiyah Love would certainly crank the dial on how fun it is to watch the Tennessee Titans every Sunday. Shouldn't that matter? If he's the best player in the draft, if there aren't a lot of great blue chip talents at the top of the draft, if he's going to make the team more exciting and put butts in the seats and get us ready to go, doesn't that matter to the football watching experience of being a football fan on earth? I just think that matters. And let's just call it what it is. The Tennessee Titans have always had a good running back. That's how we win. Yes, I would love elite wide receivers, an elite prime quarterback, all of that. And I think the Titans might have that. But the Titans have won with Steve and Eddie, with Chris Johnson, with Derrick Henry. This is what the Tennessee Titans do. So having a great running back, it would just kind of feel cozy for Titans fans. Now, moving forward to that in more of a team building standpoint, a good run game and a good 3-down running back that can line up as a wide receiver, that can catch the ball out of the backfield, that can take a screen pass 60 yards for a touchdown, that can line up in the slot and run routes. Legit, Jeremiyah Love was out there at the combine running routes as a wide receiver after the running back drills. And he came out there and he competed at everything. And if you look at the numbers, he ran a 4.37. That's the same time as Jahmyr Gibbs. And he's 13 pounds heavier. That does help Cam Ward. And the conversation is always the offensive line. Look at what the offensive line was able to do at the end of the season last year when the Callahans were gone and Luke Stalker took over the run game planning. The Titans' run game balled out at the end of the year. They were running all over everybody, and that's with Tony Pollard. Imagine if you put Jeremiyah Love. Imagine if you put Jahmyr Gibbs on the Tennessee. If you could say, would you take Jahmyr Gibbs in the top 5 and put him on the Titans right now? Would you rather have Jahmyr Gibbs or Reuben Bain? Jahmyr Gibbs or David Bailey? Jahmyr Gibbs or Arvell Reese? I'm sorry, I'd probably take Jahmyr Gibbs. So think about it like that. And the Titans are thinking about it like that. Mike Borgonzi said about Jeremiyah Love at the combine, a running back like that, especially a 3-down running back that can play the pass game as well and be able to take over a game. You see guys in the league now that can do that. Gibbs is an example in Detroit that can run in between the tackles. He's a game changer. He can line up outside, use him as a receiver. This guy in the draft, Jeremiyah, can do that as well. It's the speed and the ability to play all 3 downs. And Robert Saleh said, just had a year with Christian McCaffrey, he had over 400 touches. If they are a 3-down player and they can impact the game and create mismatches out on the perimeter as well as run the ball the way they do, guys like Jahmyr Gibbs, Christian McCaffrey, I'm sure there are a few more. I personally would throw Bijan Robinson in there, but there are tremendous assets to a football team. So the Titans are already talking this guy up. Now let's be honest though. The Titans have a lot of needs. They have edge, cornerback, wide receiver. They need a couple starters on the offensive line right now. But if the Titans are able to add a significant amount of guys in free agency and with their other draft picks, remember the Titans have 9 draft picks. So they have 8 other draft picks and $100 million in free agency to solve those other needs or at least add short-term fixes to those other needs to allow them to take the best player in the NFL draft. So I wouldn't even say that the other needs would preclude the Titans from being able to take Love. We got to see what they do in free agency. Now, I wouldn't let free agency if they just sign some mid guys, but if they're able to get John Franklin Myers, Trey Hendrickson, add another depth edge in there. Like at some point, we'll wait till 2027. There's a better draft class and look for our alpha rusher. If you have Jermaine Johnson, Femi Oladipo, John Franklin Myers, Trey Hendrickson, Jalen Harrell as your 5, bring back Sebastian Joseph Day with Jeffrey Simmons on the interior. Like, you have enough defensive line talent. Sign a top cornerback. Take one with one of your top 3 picks in the draft. Bring in Wan'Dale Robinson. Draft a wide receiver with one of your other top 3 picks in the draft. You have added enough at your positions of need to allow you to take a guy like Jeremiyah Love. Now, here's the things that actually would deter me from getting a running back. It's just easy to find a good running back. Would it be better for the Titans to take one of those guys at a premium position and sign a guy like Tyler Algier in free agency? What if they go out and sign Kenneth Walker? They're not going to take Jeremiyah Love at number 4. So I think what they do in free agency at running back will kind of inform whether they're seriously considering Jeremiyah Love, because the also aspects of these conversations outside of running back value, which again, 14 of the last 15 Super Bowl champions paid their running back 2% of their salary cap or less. The only running back that didn't meet that mold was Marshawn Lynch, and he got 6% of the cap. But that's part of the issue, because if you draft a running back top 5 in the NFL draft, you're already paying top of the market value for a running back. Now, I would have been okay with the Titans going out and signing Kenneth Walker. So how could you sit here and be like, I want them to get Breece Hall or Kenneth Walker, and then be mad about Jeremiyah Love? You're paying a lot of money to the running back spot no matter what. But if there is a legitimate deterrent from taking Jeremiyah Love that high in the draft, it's that you don't get any contract value at all. If you take an edge rusher or a wide receiver or an offensive tackle or a quarterback high in the draft, you get a great discount for what they're getting paid in free agency or what they're getting paid on extensions. When you do it with a running back or a linebacker or a tight end, or you don't get that kind of value on the contract, because those guys who get drafted high get paid a lot of money. So to me, that would be the downside. Now, there's the other thing that we have to mention here. Mike Borgonzi and Robert Saleh could be running a play right now. They could be trying to drum up interest to get somebody like the Chiefs or the Saints or the Cowboys. Try to get, probably not the Cowboys because they just re-signed Javonte Williams. But they could be just, hey, we love Jeremiyah Love. Yeah, the Titans love Jeremiyah Love, to try to get somebody to trade up to their spot so that then they can trade back and take wide receiver or edge. So got to keep that in your mind as well. This could all be a ploy and all be a play. It is smokescreen season in the NFL. But at the end of the day, I would be happy with Jeremiyah Love, and depending on what the Titans do in free agency and with their other draft picks, it could work out pretty fine that it's the right move to take the best player in the NFL draft. And I do think it would help Cam Ward, which is what everybody is talking about anyways. But speaking of helping Cam Ward, could be a wide receiver on the way. And I think there are a couple of options in free agency that might already be a done deal. Do want to let you know that today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel Sportsbook. College basketball is non-stop. You got big games, tight spreads, momentum swings every single night. Whether it's early tip-offs or that late-night West Coast shootout, there's always action on the board. And now FanDuel is giving you a way to turn that energy into an even bigger potential win with a college basketball parlay profit boost. You can build any college hoops parlay that you want, rivalry games, ranked matchups, whatever fits your needs. You can mix spreads, totals, player props to match how you see the slate playing out. And you can apply the profit boost and instantly bump up the potential payout. Go safe, go bold, ride with the team that you've been following all season. It's your parlay, your style, now with more upside behind it. Head to FanDuel.com to get started. Once again, that's FanDuel.com. FanDuel, play your game. Today's episode is also brought to you by Indeed. Workplace chaos, deadlines stacking up, inbox overflowing, and the one position that you have to fill is still sitting open when the pressure is on and you need the right hire. That's a job for sponsored jobs. Indeed, sponsored jobs helps you reach the people who actually fit what you're looking for with the skills, experience, location, so you know that you're not just hoping for the right candidate to stumble across your post. Spend less time searching and more time actually interviewing candidates who check all your boxes with less stress, less time, and more results. When you need the right person to cut through the chaos, that's a job for Indeed sponsored jobs. And listeners of my show will get a $75 sponsored job credit to help give your job the premium status it deserves at Indeed.com/podcast. Just go to Indeed.com/podcast right now and support my show by saying that you heard about Indeed on this podcast. That's Indeed.com/podcast. Terms and conditions apply. Need to hire. That's a job for Indeed sponsored jobs. Titans fans, let's continue today's edition of the Locked On Titans podcast. Again, going over all the big news coming out of the weekend at the Combine. The Titans are apparently in love with Jeremiyah Love, but I think there's a lot of complexity to the discussion there. But now we need to talk about free agent news. There are two guys who the Titans are apparently trying to re-sign before free agency begins, and there are two guys who I think might already have a deal done with the Tennessee Titans before free agency begins. Wan'Dale Robinson. We've been talking about Wan'Dale Robinson for quite some time now. I've considered him one of the best realistic options. The Titans were never getting George Pickens. I don't think that Alec Pierce is a realistic option either, but we'll talk about him in just a moment. Mike Evans wants to go to a championship contender. He's not coming to the Titans. I don't want anything to do with Brandon Ayuk or Deebo Samuel. I'm not as high on Romeo Doubs as some of you guys seem to be. He's just an okay receiver. He's never even gone over 800 yards receiving in a single season. In 4 years of his career, he's got 25 drops in 4 seasons. Like, I just don't see it with Dobbs, with what he's going to get paid. But Robinson is a guy that I've liked. And according to a lot of different reports, things are looking like the Titans could end up with Wan'Dale Robinson. I went over it earlier in the week when I was at the Combine, a report from Tony Pauline saying that the Titans are in on Alec Pierce and Wan'Dale Robinson. And if they can't get Alec Pierce, they would shift to Wan'Dale Robinson pretty quickly. I don't want the Titans to play around trying to get Alec Pierce just for him to go back to the Colts and Wan'Dale Robinson go to the Browns or whoever else is interested in him. Just go make sure that you get Wan'Dale Robinson. He fits perfectly. And not only the Tony Pauline report, but Connor Hughes, who covers the New York Jets, was on a podcast, or it was Jordan Raanan, who covers the New York Giants, was on a podcast recently and said, it's looking like Wan'Dale Robinson is out in New York. And I think that the reason that we heard that report from Tony Pauline, and then the reason that we heard over the weekend Jordan Raanan say that, yeah, Wan'Dale Robinson's not coming back to the Giants. The reason for that is, in my opinion, the deal has already been negotiated. If you guys don't know, I know some of you guys think that you know more than me sometimes, when really, in my opinion, you're just a step behind. Like, I'm going to get people in my comments on Facebook say, well, free agency doesn't start until March the 9th, so that deal can't be done. Guys, if you think that agents and teams aren't negotiating contracts during the Combine, you're misinformed. You're naive to the realities of the world. No one plays by the rules. No one plays by the rules. Ever. In any stage of life. In any industry. If you are going to play by the book, you're going to get beat. Because other people are not going to play by the book. And they're not going to care about the costs. Look at steroids in professional wrestling. You know what I mean? Like, well, I mean, technically that's not against the rules, but steroids are pretty popular in low levels of college football too. I had plenty of buddies who played college football who basically was, if you weren't going to be on the juice, you're not going to keep your scholarship. Was it against the rules? Yes. Do people do it anyways? Yes. Do you speed on the highway? When you're on the highway and it's 70 miles per hour, do you go 70 on the dot and never go above it? I don't. I go 80. You know what I mean? When it's 65, I go 75. That people do not follow rules, man. That's just not how it works. And NFL teams and agents don't follow rules either. That's why it's free agency just opened officially for 5 minutes, and we already have 50 deals announced. Because those deals were negotiated at the NFL Combine, not during the tampering period. It's been done for a week. And I theorize that the reason that Jordan Renan knows that, the reason that Tony Pauline reported that, is because the Titans and Wan'Dale Robinson already have a deal done. They know how much they want. They've agreed to the cost, the guaranteed. I think a lot of that stuff is already done for not just the Titans either, around the NFL. A lot of free agent deals got done this week. That's just the facts of how the life in the NFL works. So, Wan'Dale Robinson, why am I so high on this? A lot of you guys say to me, why would they need Wan'Dale Robinson when they have Chig Okonkwo? And I'm sorry, guys, but that is a lack of understanding of Wan'Dale Robinson's skill set and Chig Okonkw's shortcomings right now. DK is a vertical slot. You want him running deep routes. You want him running deep crossers. He is not a great route runner, short and intermediate. And I have told you that Brian Daboll's Erhardt-Perkins system, which is what Tom Brady ran in New England, requires a very smart and shifty slot wide receiver, a guy who's really good on short and intermediate routes. That is Wan'Dale Robinson. 90 catches in back-to-back years. Went over 1,000 yards last year in Brian Daboll's offense in New York. Wan'Dale Robinson and Chig Okonkwo don't overlap in their skill set. Wan'Dale Robinson is able to run vertically, but that's not necessarily his game, where I think DK, that is his game, to get down the field, take the top off the defense. DK can play at the Z wide receiver spot while Wan'Dale Robinson plays in the slot. There isn't enough overlap to where, oh, we have Chig Okonkwo, we don't need Wan'Dale Robinson. Like that doesn't make a lot of sense to me. Okay? And what would it cost? I think that Wan'Dale Robinson's probably going to get about $18 million a year. I think we're looking at 3 years, $55 million with, $35 million guaranteed. That is what I would expect. Maybe 3 years, $58 million if we really start getting up there. But I think about $18 to $20 million a year. And some people will say that's way too expensive for a slot wide receiver like Wan'Dale Robinson. And my answer to that would be, is a brand new Ford Bronco expensive to a millionaire? Are they overpriced? Sure. But is it expensive to a millionaire? Like, if I'm a billionaire and I want to eat Wagyu steak every single night, that's not going to hurt me. I'm not going to go broke doing that. So it's like the Titans don't have anyone to pay. They have $100 million in cap space. They need help at wide receiver. Is it a bit of an overpay for Wan'Dale Robinson? Sure, but you always have to overpay in free agency. That's how it works because you're bidding against other teams. So I am perfectly fine paying $18 to $20 million a year on a 2 to 3 year contract for Wan'Dale Robinson to get Cam Ward some help. And then you go into the draft and you get a bigger guy. And now you've added enough to your wide receiver room for now. And then you add Jeremiyah Love into that maybe. And you have added real help for Cam Ward to support him. Now, Alec Pierce. Again, Alec Pierce is a better player than Wan'Dale Robinson? I don't know. They play different spots. They do different things, but I think they're pretty similar talent-wise, if I'm honest with you. I don't know. Like, Pierce is a good player, for sure, but would you rather pay Alec Pierce $27, $28, $30 million a year? I think that Wan'Dale Robinson would be better for the offense, more important to the offense. And being $10 million cheaper, I'd rather go with Wan'Dale Robinson. And again, what I don't want to happen is for the Titans to be going after Alec Pierce, and then they miss out on Wan'Dale Robinson, and Pierce goes back to the Colts, and now you're just left holding the bag. I don't want that to happen. So just go get Wan'Dale Robinson. Alec Pierce is going to end up back with the Colts. Don't worry about that, okay? Now, the other guy who I think might already have a done deal with the Titans is John Franklin Myers. And we talked about this last week. But again, Tanzel Smart, who was a defensive lineman on the New York Jets with Robert Saleh, is now the assistant defensive line coach for the Titans. He posted the news on Instagram. And in the comments, John Franklin Myers said, "You thinking what I'm thinking?" To Tanzel Smart being hired by the Titans as a coach. Now, why would he do that? Why would he do that? And then Sebastian Joseph Day replied to that with eye emojis. And then my guy Sharm Sports tweeted out a thing about John Franklin Myers on Twitter, and Jermaine Johnson, the Titans' newest Titan that was just traded for, retweeted it with an eye emoji. If you have Sebastian Joseph Day and Jermaine Johnson, and then John Franklin Myers himself commenting under a Titans head coach post, or Titans coach post, and a former teammate of his, I think that deal's already done. I would be absolutely shocked if John Franklin Myers wasn't a Tennessee Titan 8 days from now. Shocked. Yeah, it's going to be expensive. Probably be, again, $15 to $18 million is what I would expect for John Franklin Myers. But the Titans have the money, and now with Tavondre Sweat gone, they have the need on the interior. If you have John Franklin Myers and Jeffrey Simmons rushing from the interior, that's devastating to offenses. John Franklin Myers is awesome. And I have been saying that since the Titans played him 2 years ago. I was raving about John Franklin Myers on that crossover episode. I love JFM. I think he's a fantastic player. He could be the Titans' Danico Autry, you know? They don't have similar skill sets in like body types and stuff, but just saying from a free agent defensive lineman who comes in, gets, 5 or 6 sacks a year, really elevates the defensive line play, already knows Robert Saleh's system. Again, I think that there's a good chance that Wan'Dale Robinson and John Franklin Myers are already done deals and will be Tennessee Titans within 8 to 9 days. But with that being said, we got another report over the weekend that the Titans are prioritizing Chig Okonkwo and Kevin Zeitler to bring them back. And I got to be honest, I don't really get it. Do want to let you know that today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. We live in a world where you can stream anything, order food in minutes, carry supercomputers in our pockets, and somehow buying tickets to a live game still feels complicated. Hidden fees, jumping prices, endless steps. There has to be a better way, and that's why I use the Game Time app. It gives the fans the advantage that they deserve and makes getting tickets simple. I jumped on the app recently to check out tickets for an upcoming game, and it took me minutes to get the seats that I wanted. You get a panoramic view from your seat so you know what you're going to be looking at before you buy. The price includes all fees, so there's no surprises at checkout. 2 taps, and you got great seats locked in. Fast, easy, done. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use the code LOCKEDON for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account, redeem the code LOCKEDON for $20 off. Download the Game Time app today. You'll be happy that you did. Titans fans, let's cap off today's edition of the Locked On Titans podcast. Again, going over all the big-time news from over the weekend. The Titans apparently are interested in Jeremiyah Love at number 4. Wan'Dale Robinson, John Franklin Myers, I think could be done deals to the Titans already. But now we got to go over a recent report from Paul Kaharski saying that Chig Okonkwo and Kevin Zeitler are priorities for the Titans to re-sign before they get into free agency. And on face value, it makes sense, right? Chig Okonkwo led the Titans in receiving yards last year. Him and Cam Ward had a decent connection. He's not a bad player by any means. If Gunnar Helm takes a step forward, he's more of the traditional tight end. You got Chig Okonkwo as kind of your number 2 unique tight end. all right, I see the vision there. Zeitler, on the other hand, again, Kevin Zeitler had the best pass block win rate or best pressure rate allowed of any right guard in the NFL last year. It was like 2.3%. Kevin Zeitler's not a bad player. Kevin Zeitler played pretty well last year. But he's going to be 36 years old. That's really where I start to... I know you want to bring back as much continuity as possible on the offensive line, and now that you cut Lloyd Cushenberry, replacing right guard and center, maybe that is too much for the Titans to stomach. They would rather just bring Zeitler back, even if it's on a one-year deal, just to have that continuity that we talked about, and then you could just bring in a center, and you're good to go. But I guess I would want to look for somebody who maybe could be more of a long-term option. Whether that's Wyatt Teller for a couple of years, or Dylan Parham, who's still only 25, or Elijah Vera Tucker, who's still in his 20s, who could be on the team for 2 to 3 years. I guess I just expected the Titans to look more into the guard market for a more long-term option than another one-year deal for a guy like Kevin Zeitler, who started getting banged up at the end of the year and had trouble staying in the lineup. And why? Because he was 35 years old. So it's like, I don't think it's insane for them to bring back Kevin Zeitler, 1 year, $10 million deal, just like last year. But I guess I just expected a different approach from the Titans than just bringing back a one-year Band-Aid in Zeitler. But if they do that, that allows them to really put all of their attention on the offensive line to the center position, which may be what's best for the Titans for this year and for Cam Ward right now, is to not take chances and bring back Zeitler. So I at least understand that one. Again, 1 year, $10 million deal is what I would expect, just like last year. No reason for anything to change. But the Chig Okonkwo one, and I won't spend too much time here because you guys have heard my thoughts about Chig Okonkwo quite a bit, but I just don't get it. Are they going to pay him 3 years, $30 million? 3 years, $27 million would be at the low end, I would say, like $9 million. I guess, again, looking at Brian Daboll's offense, Dawson Knox, Dalton Kincaid, Daniel Bellinger, Theo Johnson, like all of those guys are big-bodied, traditional-looking tight ends. I mean, didn't the Giants have Darren Waller for a cup of coffee at one time too? I know that Darren Waller's skill set is closer to Chig Okonkwo, but even Darren Waller is a big tight end. He's not small like Chig. Chig is short. He's got short arms. He's slender. I mean, he's 6'3", 230 pounds. Like, that's a big guy, but you know, in the grand scheme of things. But for a tight end in the NFL, and especially, it's a good tight end class. There's a lot of good, useful tight ends. There's a lot of good veteran tight ends in free agency. Now, I have said this. If the Titans go out and get a guy like Daniel Bellinger, like Cade Otton, like Adam Troutman, you know, someone like Foster Moreau, a more traditional tight end to be the tight end too with Gunnar Helm, and then they give a cheap deal to a guy like Chig Okonkwo, like worth like $5-6 million a year, that would make sense. But I don't see the scheme fit. I don't see the financial value. I don't understand why the Titans are prioritizing Chig Okonkwo. And will that end up being the case? Because Chig posted on the internet after the season was over this heartfelt thing like, thank you, Tennessee. And it sounded like he knew that he was leaving. So I'm surprised, based on all that we're getting this report that he is a priority for them. At minimum, I would let him go into free agency, and if he doesn't get the deals that he thinks he's going to get, sure, then come on home on a cheaper deal. Sure, but I can't say I agree with Chig Okonkwo being a priority for the Titans, even if I understand why that could be the case. I don't agree with it, but with Zeitler, I do at least get that. Like, that would make sense to me for the Titans to bring Zeitler back. But with that being said, so much news, so much discussion, so much to talk about coming this week. Free agency a week away from the tampering period opening. I'm going to have my free agent preview series for you guys this week. Expect a ton of double episodes all week long. 30-minute in the afternoon, 30-minute in the evening. So much to talk about. I'm going to try to get to all of it with you guys. But again, free agency preview coming your way this week. So much is about to happen. Make sure that you get subscribed, stay subscribed, and become an everydayer. Check out the Locked On Titans Everydayer Club in the description down below. The link for that is there with free, ad-free versions of the show. Locked On Titans group chat. It's going to be a good place to be when the free agency news starts coming in, the Locked On Titans group chat. But again, with that being said, that's going to do it for me today, folks. As always, I am your host, Tyler Rowland, and this was Locked On Titans.